maybe I would answer go big or go home.
And welcome to RBLE Global Tracks, which is Leipzig's very first RB Leipzig podcast in English. And this one is brought to you by Richard and Mario. And amongst us, we are season tickets holders, we are passionate supporters, and not so neutral local pundits. And both of us have been following Leipzig football since our childhood days. So if you want to hear about RB Leipzig, capture the mood of the fans in the city. It has improved. And if you want to go beyond numbers and statistics, you are in the right place. We are thrilled and delighted to welcome you on board. So let's go. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs. And auf geht's, Richard. How are you today?
Hey, Mario. Thank you. I'm fine. Let's get started.
That's wonderful, Richard. Thank you very much. Before we get started, we like to start a little bit differently today because we like to thank some new followers. We like to thank our new listeners, and we like to acknowledge some people who actually spread the word for us. Bloody hell, the word for us on X Twitter. And I think the most famous person around here in Leipzig is Mr. Guido Schäfer. Mr. Guido Schäfer is also an ex-football player, soccer player in the, I think, 90s for FSV Mainz 05. And I think in his heart, that is the club that he still supports, which is fine. We're okay with that. And he used to play in the second tier, in the second Bundesliga, quite successfully. They never got relegated. And since 2015, Guido Schäfer is actually chief editor at the Leipziger Volkszeitung in the section of sports. So he does know what he's talking about. And Guido, we'd like to thank you in your hessischer Akzent, if I can do it. Let me give it a try, Richard. Hold on. Ei, gute Guido! Vielen Dank, dass du uns mal angehört hast und dass du das überstanden hast mit ohne offensichtliche Blessure. Also nichts Neues hinzugekommen. Wunderbar. Danke, dass du uns weiterempfohlen hast, dass du unsere Message weiterverbreitet hast und beste Grüße von einem Ex-SSV Raunheimer an einen Ex-TV Haslocher. Mach's gut, danke. Do you think that worked?
Maybe, but to be honest, he doesn't listen to us anyway.
Oh, I forgot. Minor detail. But hey, there's somebody else who discovered us. Maybe you want to introduce them, Richard.
Yes, I would like to thank rb-fans.de for reposting our advertisement for our podcast.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate that. Thank you for your dedication, for your work to rb-fans.de, and we like to listen to your podcast as well. So yeah, thanks for following and thanks for retweeting.
I must say, I'm also a fan of their podcast, which is in German. We're going to put that in the show notes. And quite equally, even maybe a little bit longer, Guido Schäfer has a podcast out for many years, and he has a co-host. It's a gentleman called Michael Hoffman. He is he is famous comedian. And I don't think if comedian is the right term, because his sense of humor is very intelligent, and his play of words, I think it's unmatched, I must admit. So the podcast is called Die Rückfallzieher. We'll put it in the show notes. Both of the podcasts are in German, but if you get a chance, do check him out. It's well worth listening to them. But there's one more shout out we like to do, and that's to a new first-time listener. It's Justin Dalton. And Justin Dalton sent us a message via Twitter telling us that he's a first-time listener, and he's delighted to have discovered that there is an RB Leipzig podcast in English. So thank you very much for that, Justin. So in my mind, he was living in Leipzig. So I did ask him if he's going to go to the match on Sunday versus Freiburg. And he told me he would love to, but it's a long way from Canada. So we're delighted to have you on board. I think you are the first listener in Canada. So thank you very much for listening, and do keep in touch. Brilliant. So, Richard, what are we going to talk about today? Give us some details, please.
Well, no problem. Today, we want to talk about our key takeaways from our match against Belgrade. And we have a little analytics part to rotate or not to rotate. That is question. And last but not least, our preview to our next encounter before the international break against SC Freiburg.
Oh yeah, SC Freiburg. We love those encounters, don't we? Let's talk about the Champions League match in Belgrade. There was a lot about said about the atmosphere. There was a lot of concern that our supporters who would travel there may run into difficulties. I think about 600 of them made the journey. It's about 1,100 kilometers from Leipzig, and to be honest, there are no direct flights. It's not like Frankfurt or maybe Berlin. So you do, if you want to take a flight, you go. Maybe you have to travel 4 hours to Frankfurt or to Berlin. On Twitter, I noticed quite a lot of them did go by car, 1,100 kilometers. As I said, they probably had Red Bull and some sort of energy drink. Got to be Red Bull, doesn't it? They were actually, I'm not sure if you could hear them because it was quite loud, but hey, massive respect to you guys to making the journey and hope everyone returned back. And it was worth it because you came back with 3 points. And I think it was really important that you actually were present. So thank you. Well done. So what was your key takeaway from this match, Richard?
Our team can overcome a low in tough weather conditions in a stadium with an exceptional atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
and can handle the pressure to qualify to the knockout stage with the win. That hasn't been always in our past because um, performing our best possible, performing our A game in tough circumstances was a hard thing to do for us in recent years. I remember our first UCL away game at Besiktas Istanbul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazingly and bloody hell, what is loud. I've been there. This is a story for another episode. And we could not deal with the fanatic home team supporters
Definitely
there.
not.
So,
Definitely not.
and lost. And a few months later, it was almost the same in Stade Velodrome in Marseille, where we lost the second leg game in the Europa League quarterfinal that time.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And you surely remember last year's Europa League semi-final second leg at Ibrox Park.
I
Um,
didn't want to think about it anymore.
but yeah,
But thank
but
you
we
for
have to.
reminding me. Really
Um,
appreciate it.
our team was overwhelmed by the force that came from the stands there as well. But this time, our players succeeded, and I rate this win slightly higher than last year's victory
Mm-hmm.
at Paradise versus Celtic. Although we desperately needed a win there too, but this time I think it's worth more.
I think it's also worth more because we qualified for the last 16 very early, and we came out of away from really two matches where we didn't create much chances, where we didn't score, and it was quite dreadful. And so yeah, I tend to agree there. Plus, for me, the key takeaway is that we have the glorious three. I would like to call it Blaswish. Bloody hell! How does he do it? How does he do it? That I mean, not mentioning the double triple save he did in the second half. That last save in his short. I don't know if that's English short corner in this very last chance of Belgrade, that was astonishing. That was just astonishing. And of course, Xavi with his beautiful strike, giving us the lead quite early, quieting down the crowd somewhat, but not too much. And Openda, what can I say? This is our life insurance. All three of them, beautiful. This is my key takeaway, that we have some, some. I mean, the whole team was wonderful, but they just were excellent. I mean, I'm struggling for words here, and I'm so glad that at the moment we have this setup, and the team is successful like that. So, anything else for Belgrade? But I think this pretty much wraps it up, doesn't it? We are so happy to continue, and well, let's see what happens when we play the noisy neighbors. But that's for another day. Now, Richard, there is something really interesting you approached me with, and you had some thoughts about rotation, and I like to call this question to rotate or not to rotate.
Mm.
There have been a lot of thoughts, sometimes a lot of voices also on the internet and on Twitter, where people demanded there's going to be more rotation of the players, even some players who we haven't seen. Somebody even called for somebody who's not made it to the squad, to the roster. But does it actually mean if you rotate more that you're more successful? And I think you took a really good approach to investigate that by looking at the team who's currently at the top of the league, the Werkself Bayer Leverkusen, by the way, not referring to complying with 50+1 rules, but that's for another episode as well. So yes, please, what are your thoughts? To rotate or not to rotate? Does it mean more rotation? Does it mean you're more successful?
No, obviously not, and I will explain why. So
What?
yeah,
But they're 28 out of 30 points. Come on, what are you talking about?
yeah. Listen,
I'm
um,
listening.
listening, listen carefully. So yeah, you talk
Sorry, I
about it.
gotta interrupt you. I have a colleague of mine who says this all the time to me. Listen, I'm only saying this once. Listen carefully.
Carefully. That was why my English teacher always told, "Listen."
Oh my god. Here we go.
Um, okay. So, yeah, you said it. Okay, so we are on the top of the league is Bayer Leverkusen, and all those people that follow us on X Twitter may have recognized it. I made a little graphic, a little statistic, where you can see some differences in the approach of Bayer Leverkusen and RB Leipzig. And in terms of how many players started and how long did they play and so on. And another thing our boss is also often criticized is his substitution handling. People say he should react to the events on the pitch earlier and not waiting until at least 60, 65 minutes into the game before sending out fresh men from the bench.
Well, sometimes he waits even longer, you know?
Yeah. Wait a little. Wait a few minutes. I looked
Oh, I'm
into that
sorry.
as well. Okay. So I was wondering, is this really a solution to solve our inconsistency issues?
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, Bayer Leverkusen is playing on a very high level with an impressive consistency. How do they handle their workload of their squad? And what I found out is quite interesting. In the first 10 Bundesliga games this season, Bayer 04 started almost every game with the same starting 11. 8 players started in every match.
That's a lot.
It's a heck of a lot. Plus another 3 in 9 of those 10 games. So in
So
total,
that's a whole team.
it's a
Yeah.
whole team. In total, 11 players started at least in 9 games.
Wow.
And after all, only 14 players started for Bayer so far this Bundesliga season. And if
Wow.
you look,
They can have a small roster if they
yeah,
wanted to.
and nobody's talking about, "Ooh, they look fatigued, they look tired."
No.
No,
Yeah.
nothing. Let's take a look in the same categories in RBL. We have only 5 players who started every game, and in addition, a number of 2 who started at least 9 times. So in total, 7 players here who started in at least 9 games compared to 11. That was the number for Bayer.
It's quite a difference.
And the total number of players who started for RBL this Bundesliga season is 20. Remember,
Yeah.
Bayer had 14 in this department. So,
Wow. So how do they handle
who?
this?
How do they handle this?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Maybe they are trained better, have
Yeah.
better, more stamina, in better form. I don't know. But the key is the thing is people often say, "Hey, you need Marco needs to rotate more." He does it, right? He does
Mhm.
rotate more than Bayer Leverkusen, but Bayer Leverkusen is on the top. 20, you said it, 28 out of 30 points. Okay, so more rotation equals more success. I say no, but
Mhm.
I have a little more numbers for you if you're still ready. Bayer have a distinct fewer numbers of players who usually starts and is more successful in terms of winning games than RBL. They are now on a 6 game winning streak and never scored less than 2 goals in every match. And even more interesting is I found out is the average minutes of substitutions during a game. As I said, Marco Rose is often criticized for substituting too late, and so I looked in this category as well for both teams. And surprisingly, the average minute of a substitution is later in the game at Bayern 04 than at RBL. Alonso
Okay.
changes on average after, hold on, after almost 80 minutes.
What?
Yeah. Do you believe it?
No.
Almost 80 minutes, and Marco Rose does it after 74.
I mean, after 80-10 for the last 10 minutes, I wouldn't bother anymore. I would just stay put.
Mhm, mhm. And I've got
Wow.
one more thing. One more thing.
One more thing.
Um,
Come on, hit
okay.
us.
So make an educated guess. The first 11 players with the most playing time so far. How many percent of every single minute goes on their account? So you have 10 games, 11 players, 90 minutes. So 9,900 minutes playing time
Mm-hmm.
in total.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 11, how many percent? Make an educated guess.
80%.
80%. Okay, 80% is correct for RBL. So
Oh, okay.
11 players got 80% of the 9,900 minutes. But at Bayer Leverkusen, it's 93.
Jesus.
93.
So, but why is this? Why could this be a key for success? Is this a team that plays with each other very often, and they know each other? They know how to pass the ball, where the next person's going to run. Do you
Yeah,
think that helps?
obviously
Okay.
something like that.
Sorry, I'm
So,
the novice here.
yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure why, but it this is no coincidence. Okay,
Mm, mm.
Alonso does this for a reason, and in my opinion, this is because yes, he thinks that the fewer changes, the better for the outcome. So the interaction, the cohesion in the team, it clicks more. Yeah, you know, it's just clicking with these specific 11 to 14 players. But conclusion to wrap things up here, um, I think giving players a rest and change your starting lineup more often and to substitute earlier is not crucial to have success. At least to now. Bayer Leverkusen will get problems. Okay, don't get me wrong, because in January it's the African Cup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they got. Let me take a quick look. They got Boniface, right? He plays for Nigeria.
Mm,
Tapsoba,
mm-hmm.
Frimpong,
Pimpon.
and
Yeah.
Amiri.
So four.
Those four
Mm,
will participate in the African Cup of Nations, and so they are very likely out in the first games in 2024. Yeah, and very likely also not available in the match against us.
mm.
Well, nice for us though. So I'm excited and curious to see how Xabi Alonso will handle this.
Can you imagine Marco Rose would do the same tactics? And we had about 11 players who played 90% of the time, started 90% of the time. I could imagine that the supporters would get very anxious the way they are right now because we were just so concerned that our key players get injured. And you've seen this with Danny Olmo.
Mm.
You've seen this now. Okay, Willi Orban, you never thought he can get injured. And there are people who are really concerned that Xavi will get injured, who's one of our glorious three from Belgrade. How would you answer that question? So put yourself in the shoes of Marco Rosa. He has the same, pretty much the same lineup all the time. Wouldn't you be concerned that down the road in 5, 6, 7 games we would be missing a lot more key players or be very tired?
Maybe I would answer go big or go home. All right. So
I like that. I like that.
send
Yeah.
out always the best squad possible to win every game,
Never
and
change a winning team. Ka-ching!
don't be anxious. Don't go into a
Mm,
game with fear. Oh, maybe I could lose the game. Oh, maybe someone gets injured. No, get in every encounter with the positive mindset. Okay,
mm,
we're good. We're playing well together. We have nice ball carriers. We have players with good vision. We have a good keeper that will help us out in case he has to. So I think this is an important mindset.
And do you think it was sort of let me call it error to have Pete in goal when we played Wolfsburg, and maybe not start with the best team possible?
Yeah, maybe it's kind of like a little hindsight. So from now the game
Of
is
course, that's what we do.
now the game is over. You can always say, "Oh, never the error." Blasby should have started. I
So
told you
far,
so.
3-2.
So, but yeah, to be honest, I would have given Pete a chance as well.
Mhm.
So my humble opinion is no, it wasn't a mistake.
But I think Marco Rose thinks that rotation is important. And what do you think the reasons could be for that? Is it being anxious and concerned about losing key players for the really important match? But I think every match is important. We've seen that. Just remember your little session regarding mind the gap. You need to get the points with the bottom five teams, and what happens next? We lose to Mainz. Sorry, Guido, but Mainz is down there. And why is that? Have we not played with the right team, not with the best team? Do we change too much? There's too much inconsistency there. That would
Yeah,
support that argument. What you just shown, and also the graphics that we put would be on Twitter and the numbers you explained. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Marco Rosa would actually do that and how fans would react. I think supporters would. They expect a rotation, but they are at the same time they expect to have the best team on the pitch. I mean, you're right. Hmm. But I think it's very
yeah, we could we
interesting.
could we could argue about that for
I
for
know
for
forever.
hours, and maybe we'll do that, but not today.
But in order to answer our question, to rotate or not to rotate, does more rotation automatically mean more success? In this case, when we look at Bayer Leverkusen, it doesn't seem to be that way. So thank you very much, Richard. That was really interesting. Until our next little study that we're going to have. Well, you're going to do that. I'm just going to talk about it. But thanks a lot. Hopefully everybody else thought it was useful. Now let's look ahead to Sunday night, 7:30 at night. We're going to meet again, SC Freiburg. By the way, the Ultras are going to boycott of SC Freiburg. They're going to boycott that game again. It's quite convenient. I mean, it's I think 8 hours distance to Leipzig. It's a Sunday night, 7:30, and I guess they got to go to work on Monday. I do understand. So better stay at home. So, Richard, could you introduce our next opponent, please?
Introducing our next opponent, der Gegnercheck.
Of course, I can. And yeah, SC Freiburg, I have some mixed feelings about that. I have some maybe early on bias from our earlier encounters with SC Freiburg. I do remember very well this snow game,
Oh
March
yeah.
2017. We led the second Bundesliga with 6 points ahead of Freiburg, and I thought, okay, now we're gonna travel to Freiburg Monday night, win the game there, and go away to 9 points margin. But things.
I think we lost 2-1,
Yeah, they've
something like that.
developed very, very differently because uh, all of a sudden it started snowing. A few, a few players of ourselves was out to illness,
I
and
think
yeah,
there was some virus going on,
oh
and
yeah,
actually
and
they took a plane to Freiburg,
yeah,
which didn't help the situation. It spread quite easily. Mm.
and we lost 2-1. You were right, and so instead of 9 points ahead, it was only 3. And at the end of the season, okay, we was promoted. Okay, quite nice, but Freiburg went all the way. So.
But this memory sticks with you. I agree
Mm,
because I
yeah,
get an uneasy feeling every time we play Freiburg.
yeah, but
And
uh,
do the
but it
statistics support that?
no, no, it does not.
Really?
Especially if you look at the last encounters we had. We won the cup final 2022. Mm,
Exactly. Take that.
what a game that was! My gosh,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Okay, moving on.
And we lost. No, we lost. We didn't lose. We won. We won that away cup semifinal last year, 5-1, and a few days later,
Beautiful. Yeah,
1-0 in the
unbelievable.
Bundesliga. And later did
Unbelievable.
1-0 in win in the Bundesliga. That was a
Kevin
crucial one.
Campe,
Yeah, that
remember?
was of course, that was a crucial one to claim a top 4 spot in the league.
Yeah,
And back-to-back wins within a few days apart in Freiburg, this is a huge thing.
yeah.
Okay? Not many teams are able to do this. So I'm quite optimistic. And if
Hmm.
you look how Freiburg started into this season, yeah, they are with a very balanced record. They won four, lost four, and had two draws, and are currently in eighth position. And I think Freiburg is playing a pretty solid season. So they won the matches which they were supposed to win, in my
Hmm.
opinion. So they were victorious against Bremen, Augsburg, and Bochum. And maybe that is not so expected win at Hoffenheim. But they lost against Dortmund, Stuttgart, Bayern, and Leverkusen. So they already played against the first four in the league, and in all of their losses, they were pretty much without a chance. So they were
Hmm.
outshot 3-14 in
Wow.
those matches combined. And Christian Streich usually comes up with four defenders when playing against those opponents. And they started against Dortmund and Stuttgart with a little bit more offensive approach, but changed that after the Bayern game. So in that last encounter against Leverkusen, he started with a very tight 4-1-4-1 formation, but they didn't sit too deep back to their own penalty box. So
Hmm.
Bayern Leverkusen had quite some space to maneuver when playing the ball quickly with two or
Do you
three
think we're going to
passes.
get this on Sunday as well? A bit
Yeah,
space to
yeah,
maneuver
yes,
is what we
I
like,
do.
isn't it?
I do expect that. So I do expect four defenders as well. Maybe this 4-1-4-1 formation because it worked quite well for them. Okay, so Leverkusen found a way to maneuver through this tight package, um, but not often. Uh,
Mm.
they had this beautiful goal. I don't know if you saw it from Florian Wirtz, where he does this Anthony Yeboah thing, if you remember what Yeboah did with Oliver Kahn back the day in the 90s.
And Badesalz, Anthony Sabini. Oh, that's a different story. Banange.
Yeah. So Florian Wirtz took the ball, went into the box, one hook and another hook, and yeah, then with a beautiful shot into the far post.
This
Nothing,
guy's on fire, isn't he?
absolutely.
Mm.
But it was an individual effort, not really an outplayed chance here. And the second goal, I thought it was a little bit lucky. It was who's that? Who's his first name? It was Hoffman, I think, who came in from Gladbach,
Hmm.
and he shot from 18 meters away, hit the post. The ball went back to the back from the Freiburg keeper, and from there over the goal line into the back of the net.
Mm.
So they had a few more chances. To be honest, Leverkusen had a few more chances, but most of them came when they played a quick game. So
So
Freiburg,
this is what we should do to
yeah,
do as well.
yeah,
Try.
Freiburg showed some inconsistencies in playing the ball out of their own defending area. Some players to watch here for everyone who isn't that familiar with Freiburg. Obviously, number 32, Vincenzo Grifo. Boy,
Mm.
it's the leader of the team's
Yeah,
strengths in
I have a
almost
lot of
every.
respect for him.
Yeah,
I have to
nice
say.
vision,
Mm.
nice passing. Take the responsibilities for the dead balls. Does nice crosses. Is a dribbler. Leader of the team and the captain. So keep an eye on him. Number 32, Vincenzo Grifo. Don't give him too much space. And I spotted some weak points, especially in the defense. Number 3, Lienhardt is sometimes too hesitant against the ball carriers, and he often defends on the right side. So that might be a nice target to attack for David Raum.
Hmm.
So they have number 17. It's Kübler. Center defender is a bit slow, I think. Should be also a target for Xavi or Penda for some take-ons. And they got some younger players. Number 34, Merlin Rühl, often plays in defensive midfield or in the center backfield, and I think it's slightly too slow for our speedsters.
Okay.
So yeah, take him on with speed. But they have a crucial absence. Number
Who's that?
30, number 30, Christian Günther.
Oh yeah.
I think everyone remembers him who
Yeah.
saw the cup final because
Yeah.
yeah, it's I like him. I like his play style
Yeah.
because he is relentless.
Yeah.
In every time he's
Who
on the
would you
pitch.
compare to at RB Leipzig? Who's maybe not there
Ah,
anymore?
yeah, imagine Yusuf Paulsen would be a defender. So
Yeah.
this is Christian Günther, and
Oh
he's
gosh.
out.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he's out. Number 30 is out. This is good for us. So
hopefully.
yeah, but they have some offensive talent. Keep an eye on number 42,
Mm-hmm.
Doan. I think is a guy from Japan. Has nice ball handling and vision too. Prolific passer in dangerous areas. So don't give him too much space with the ball to his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And number 7, I watched number 7 Noah Weishaupt a few times. He's a talented midfielder. Came often from the bench, but also scored once this season. So keep an eye on him if he. And I guess he will. He will come in the second half. Number 7, Noah Weishaupt. Don't let him alone with the ball.
Okay, I think that's a very nice overview, and also gives us some hope that we might see a very attractive game. If speed is needed, I think we can do that, and we have to
Yeah,
do
we
that, and
can.
that
We
gets the
can
crowd
do.
on the side straight away, like we've seen versus Cologne. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What about the formation that Marco Rose is going to play with? Do you think they're going to be? I think he changed it a couple of times,
Yeah,
and
it
I know
changed.
you were looking at that
Mm,
quite closely, and you weren't
yeah.
so. You were actually quite positive. You had a positive reaction towards the Wolfsburg game where he changed it, but I think he changed it back versus Belgrade or Mainz. So what do
Mm,
you think is effective for us
I,
versus Freiburg?
I expect Rose to stick with the 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2 formation, which he showed us against Belgrade.
Is that his favorite formation? Is that the
His
one?
favorite. Yeah. We talked about it in our last episode,
I know.
and yeah, Rose always likes to play with 4 defenders, and I expect him to do this here as
Do you
well.
think it's the right formation? Do you think it's okay?
Yeah, Rose knows best, right?
You're getting diplomatic. I love it. Rose
You know,
knows
I
best. You heard it here first. It's
I
not
was
my wife knows best. It's Rose knows best.
I was falling in love with this 3 defend from center back formation we saw against Cologne.
Yeah. Because
So
maybe it was an exception. Maybe it was exceptionally good. It just on the day it was perfect. So you thought that would fit every time, wouldn't it? Well, me.
yeah, maybe.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I expect him to stick to his 4 defender formation. So well,
Okay. It'll
my
be
lineup
interesting.
prediction.
Lineup prediction. I was
Lineup
waiting for that,
prediction. Get ready.
coach.
Okay, Blaswig, of course. Henrichs, Simakan Lukeba Raum in our defense. Schlager Haidara. Haidara made an extraordinary great game, in my opinion, against Belgrade. And Xavi, of course. And I would like to see Forsberg and Openda from the beginning.
I was surprised that Forsberg came in versus Belgrade, and I loved his face when he didn't score, when he had that great chance. And my expression on the face was the same, pretty much. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, we're all looking forward to that. We'll be there on Sunday and watch it live and in color and in whatever with a lot of beer. No, hopefully not. Great. Thanks a lot, Richard. This has been very, very interesting. We had a look at the Champions League, but also we looked at does more rotation mean more success? And we looked forward to the Freiburg match. So, Richard, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you for everyone following us on X Twitter. We are RBLE Global Tracks. Do drop us a note. You can do this via Twitter or the old email, talk to us at rbleglobaltracks.com. And our next recording will be soon. Well, next week. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good one. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs.